Story 1. I have no qualifications or experience, but I am less motivated than our current leaders, which makes it unlikely for me to hurt anyone. Story 2. Dolly Parton has already proven that money doesn't corrupt her, and she has used her considerable wealth to make the world a better place. I have never heard a single bad thing about her, and I believe she could lead with empathy, compassion, and a plan. Story 3. That president from Uruguay who just died. If we could bring him back. If not, perhaps just some unknown politician who advocates for the average person. Story 4. My first thought was LeVar Burton. But then I considered that kingship is essentially resource management. Who excels at resource management? StarCraft players. Therefore, my answer is whoever is the current StarCraft champion. Story 5. Bernie Sanders is a genuinely good and respectable human being who cares about humanity and our collective well-being for the present and the future. Story 6. Many Canadians may disagree with me, but Mark Carney is demonstrating that he likely has what it takes. Story 7. Who? This random individual from Glasgow. Why? Everyone will try to interpret his message. There are two possible outcomes. Chaos. We achieve world peace because everyone will attempt to reach a common consensus. Story 8. Keanu Reeves. Edit. You are correct. Kind and empathetic actors do not belong in politics. Let's stick with the wealthy and corrupt career politicians that are prevalent. Thank you for setting me straight. He is not a good actor, so let's continue with our current politicians. You are truly insightful. Story 9. Stephen Fry. He is one of the most intelligent people I have ever encountered and does not exhibit the typical narcissistic traits associated with individuals in high-level leadership roles. Story 10. I'm seeing a lot of Dolly Parton, but I would be worried about her kindness being taken advantage of. If I can choose someone who has passed away, I'm choosing Steve Irwin. He was tough as nails, charitable, kind, an advocate for the environment, and a great inspiration for both adults and children. Story 11. Someone I dislike because it would be a terrible job, and no matter how well she performed, there would still be critics and people wanting to harm her. Story 12. I will do it because I will tax the wealthy appropriately, resulting in a much better world for everyone. Certain things will become basic rights, such as healthcare, shelter, clean water, food, and essential vegetables. I cannot rely on anyone else to do this. I will promote world peace, but I may not succeed in achieving it. For this position, I ask for a monthly salary of 2,500 euros, and my bank account will be open for public inspection. My belongings will also be available for review. I will not accept bribes, such as luxury cars or anything similar. If I do, I will face imprisonment. Story 13. Brad, that small comedian I see on TikTok, would really confuse the aliens, and he probably has about the same degree of experience as other world leaders. Story 14. There is no single individual with enough wisdom, experience, moral integrity, and incorruptibility to govern even a single nation, much less the world. In 100 years, if humanity still exists in any form of civilized behavior, we will have finally understood this. Story 15. Lee Kuan Yew, if he were alive, transformed Singapore from a swamp into a global powerhouse through discipline, vision, and zero tolerance for corruption. That is the kind of leadership the world needs, not popularity contests. Story 16. My dog is a Newfoundland. She looks scary but isn't. She is kind to everyone and likes everyone. She only requires a few treats, quite a few naps, and lots of pets. Perfect, right? Story 17. I would choose to lead myself, as many people make poor decisions. I would then gather a group of morally sound individuals to manage operations while maintaining a hands-off approach until corruption arises. Additionally, I would establish a comfortable house equipped with internet access, games, and a heated pool for exercise. Story 18. A dog, especially one that is a good boy. We need a good boy in charge. Or a good girl. I do not discriminate. We just need a lovable creature who can make us look good when the approaching aliens arrive. Story 19. Morgan Freeman. I don't care that he is an actor. Just act like a president. That would be a big improvement over the current president of the United States. Story 20. Notwithstanding their age, I would choose Dr. Jane Goodall, Sir David Attenborough, or anyone dedicated to conservation and peace. In a hypothetical world where a single individual holds absolute power, we would urgently need someone like them, given the current state of our planet. Story 21. Most humans are incapable of leading. There are too many emotions, self-preservation, and ego-driven behaviors involved. Story 22. I would base everything around Canadian and Japanese laws, as they are among the best. Then, I would imprison any genocidal or unethical world leaders and mandate new elections for those nations, certifying the results personally. I would ensure that leaders such as Vladimir Putin, Rodon Kim, and other harmful politicians are held accountable. After establishing a better political landscape, I would step down and enjoy a peaceful retirement. Story 23. Judge Judy. As she says, "It is what it is. I see right through you. She is formidable and a fortress of knowledge. She is compassionate, contemplates before making decisions, and reflects seriously on information presented by experts in their fields. She does not act impulsively." Story 24. Tadej Pogacar has won the Tour de France, which seems as good a reason as any. All future leaders will be chosen by bicycle race, with no elections. Story 25. Revive Gene Roddenberry and make him the leader of the world. His vision for a utopian future was magnificent. Story 26. Arnold is a good person who is articulate and relatable to others. He is not US-centric and possesses political leadership experience. He can stand strong, both physically and with wit and intellect, against bullying leaders. He is humble enough to take advice. Most of the other suggestions here are individuals without political leadership experience. Being a good person like Mr. Rogers is not enough. Story 27. Warren Buffett may be the right mix of a man of the people and someone who is very wealthy, capable of making sound decisions without harming the economy. Story 28. Rutger Bregman. I think he would make very good change. Look at the book Moral Ambition and Humankind. Story 29. Betty White or Mr. Rogers, and the Reading Rainbow guy, LeVar. People, at least outwardly, seem good and are unlikely to want the job. There is a long-standing tradition in humanity. Those who want to lead in such positions almost always should not be allowed. Story 30. The glizzy lord himself, Atrioc, has put a great deal of effort into learning and educating people about the political system and financial institutions, in addition to his expertise in marketing. Story 31. Stephen Gerrard. The world would benefit from the leadership of an indefatigable, inspirational captain like him. Story 32. I think Masayoshi Takanaka is a Japanese guitarist and the most chill person in the world. In one video, he is playing in front of the sea with a surf guitar. We need someone like him to bring that chill vibe. Story 33. No one. Everyone will be found wanting. Each person will have someone accusing them of a terrible wrong that will disqualify them in the eyes of most. This is a foolish question. Story 34. My fantasy is that aliens come to Earth and look for someone to manage the planet. I have a complete file of rules I would implement, such as not being able to comment on articles without reading them and requiring businesses to display their street numbers prominently. Vote for Shite Magnet for global ruler. Story 35. Johnny Kim. Look up Jocko Podcast 221 on YouTube. It's an almost 5-hour watch or listen, but it is well worth the time. Story 36. Jesus, there are so many American answers. No offense, but you all seem a bit narcissistic and lack knowledge about the rest of the world. We get American politics everywhere, and nobody wants that. I would suggest Jens Stoltenberg or possibly Ursula von der Leyen. Both have effectively led large international coalitions, so they possess the experience and recognition needed to be viewed as legitimate worldwide. Story 37. I do not trust others to share my intentions for the world. However, I promise to bring unity, peace, equal rights, liberty, justice, universal healthcare, and education. I will also provide assistance to help everyone achieve decent living standards. Story 38. Sam Harris. I agree with him on almost all issues, and his debates with other leaders would be invaluable. Story 39. Let's say we find the perfect leader who manages to make the best out of our world. What happens if they die? Who comes next? Their children? Do the people choose? Does the person who selected the first leader get to choose again? What if that person also dies? Story 40. José Mujica, the recently deceased president of Uruguay, was a decent man who lived a modest life and did everything he could to help his people. Story 41. Konstantin Kaisin. I feel he is intelligent, open-minded, delegates to genuine expertise, and is a good listener and level-headed. He is a rarity. Maybe 20 years ago it would be Ron Paul. Story 42. I would treat everyone with respect, but I would also take measures to address irresponsible parenting. If you need to go through many steps to adopt a dog, you shouldn't be able to have children so easily. I would also implement measures to combat inflation. I believe in the redistribution of wealth. Take all the money, divide it by the population, and distribute it fairly. Story 43. Grigory Perelman is a mathematically proven genius of our time. In humanity's history, there have never been three people like him alive simultaneously, and he is known to have morals worth $1 million. He has a strong dislike for humanity, and I can understand his perspective. Story 44. Me. Anyone could mess it up. I don't know anyone I would trust with that power. So, I might as well pick myself because then I know, without doubt, the person in charge is doing their best. Story 45. Professor Brian Cox knows how to handle fame. He has sympathy for both the arts and science, is proficient in administration, and is engaging as well as intelligent. A reliable source informed me that, despite being a busy academic, broadcaster, and writer with multiple demands on his time, he consistently returns requested paperwork on time and completed accurately. This trait should not be underestimated. Story 46. If I could, I wouldn't. Most possibilities can't run a small country properly without sliding into authoritarianism. Unless I can select thousands of leaders at different levels, there is no way I could trust any single person to lead the world. In the best case, it falls apart quickly but peacefully. In the worst case, it could result in a global conflict worse than it was before. Now, if we could do something celestial before, maybe I would. Story 47. If he were still alive, I would choose Steve Irwin or, if younger, David Attenborough. However, now I would choose myself and instantly tell the aliens it's okay to exterminate the primitive monkeys and take the planet, as we are just destroying it anyway. Story 48. Jens Stoltenberg. Formerly the Prime Minister of Norway, he now serves as the Secretary General of NATO. He is not a war hawk, but rather a leader who understands diplomacy and politics. Story 49. If fictional characters are allowed, all hail Havelock Veterinari as our dictator. If a real-life person is chosen, I suggest Zelensky, partly because he is competent and partly because it would be amusing given the world situation with Russia. Story 50. It all depends. If you have the power to influence others and people listen to you, that is essential. It's the only way to ensure I can address all the issues I perceive. Many people claim that celebrities are foolish. If you genuinely need to negotiate and operate like a proper politician, I would choose someone I dislike. It won't be long before someone suggests that the world leader should be removed and we should return to a state of normalcy. Story 51. I know 4 people I trust enough to not mess things up. 3 of this group struggle with depression and the 4th is me. I don't have a lot of free time, so we're in a tough spot. We tend to be chaotic. Things might get out of control. It's February. Story 52. Nobody, not a soul, not a living person, alive or dead, should have that much control over the entire species. I'm not a honeybee. I don't want a queen. Story 53. Me. Because of blatant self-interest. Although I suspect the reality would actually be disappointing, as I would feel compelled to try to do a decent job instead of, for example, playing golf all day like some leaders seem comfortable doing. At least I would be able to make a few important laws like banning visible nostril hair. Story 54. Pope John Paul I seemed a decent, honest man before he was murdered by elements of the Curia and Freemasonry. Story 55. The late John F. Kennedy was my favorite president by far. He grew up with strong morals and love for everyone. He averted World War III and sacrificed his life to demonstrate that we can all be better if we work together. Story 56. I would make all drugs legal and open wellness centers that provide them. Additionally, I would offer housing as long as individuals maintained a job, which would also be provided. I would remove all roundabouts because they are confusing. Furthermore, leashes for children would be banned, and fishing would require a licensing fee. Story 57. Atticus Finch is fair, understanding, believes in equality, is kind, strives for justice, and is a man of integrity. Story 58. How stable is the world leadership we are discussing? Is there a system and services in place to execute their decisions while they confer and decide? Is the world unified behind this leadership? If yes, then I volunteer. Why not? I probably won't do much worse than the previous leaders. If the world is already somewhat unified, then it is feasible. If no, then you should take action. Story 59. Can I choose myself? I don't want to be arrogant and say I would do a better job than everyone else. However, I believe I am not evil and may be able to manage this responsibility. Perhaps not, but I prefer to take on this role myself. Story 60. I nominate Major General Sir Nils Olav III. I think he deserves a promotion. If he ever descends into tyranny, the worst that could happen is that he demands more fish. Story 61. I can pocket the money from just 1 week's worth of global taxes and be set for life, or I can call an election and hold the position until then. I would still be very corrupt. Story 62. Me. I'm pretty cool. I don't choose sides. I just see right and wrong. Working hours will be Tuesday to Thursday from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Double pay is mandatory for those working outside of these hours, in respect to our retail staff and anyone who prepares our food. Healthcare workers, including nurses, will receive triple pay regardless of the time or day. Healthcare will be free under a national health insurance tax plan. I would plant more trees in urban areas and have shaded water fountains for our animals and wildlife. There won't be a coffee shop on every corner. I will provide everyone with food-grade stainless steel straws, 1 per person. A new one will cost £100, and that money will go to cancer research. If you can't afford a new one, you will have to use paper straws until you can. Because I care about animals more than I care about careless litterers. I could go on, but as I said, I'm amazing. Story 63. Obviously not any of my family or myself, but rather my friend Superman 1111. He would have evil intentions at first, but then would realize what he has done and the backlash he would receive. However, he would probably make some positive changes. You're welcome. Story 64. Adam Savage. No one can rule alone, but Adam is a good generalist. He is one of the few people who can understand things from multiple viewpoints. He is very compassionate, a hard worker, and interested in science and data. He is also rational, capable of public speaking, and a generally cool and wise individual. Story 65. My boss is next in line for his job. I would prefer to have his position rather than my current one, and certainly more than being the leader of the world. Story 66. I could definitely fix the world's problems. I know the saying is that absolute power corrupts absolutely, but trust me, I'm different. Story 67. Perhaps a type of chief executive officer among a board of directors on a global scale. I propose a professional janitor. Any good one would suffice. Story 68. The President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.